Hey friends, we have something new. We have started a Pagenerd Patreon, and we will be putting bonus content and playlists there as we get going. So please go to patreon.com/Pagenerd and hit us up there. We are so excited to meet you.
So we're going to go Tommy, Rick, Sarah, and then myself.
I'm Tommy.
3. Oh. Fuck.
No, I'm Tommy.
No, I'm Tommy.
I'm Tommy.
In a world where everyone's Tommy.
I'm Tommy Guy.
I'm Rick Vieweg.
I'm Sarah Stockdale.
And I'm Andrew Corway. And this is Pagenerd. Today we're going to go through one of the most interpreted sci-fi stories, I think, in modern media. So we're going to go through War of the Worlds by H.G. Wells.
Woo!
Yeah. Woo!
Woo!
Yay!
Yeah!
Thanks for bringing the excitement, Sarah, for this one.
Let's do it.
So for those of you who don't know, H.G. Wells is a pretty iconic sci-fi writer. He's prolific around 1900. So this book's written in 1898.
Yeah, but no spoilers, guys.
No
We
spoilers.
don't know how it ends. We don't know how it ends.
Spoilers. Yeah. No, it's gonna be lots of fucking spoilers. So if you've been waiting a century and a half to listen to this book or read this book, you fucked up.
This, by the way, sets a new record for me of the longest gap between first and second read of 30 years.
Oh, shit.
Oh wow, baby Tommy.
I don't know why I remember this. I was reading Black Beauty in like the 4th or 5th grade or whatever. It's a great book. It's not science fiction.
Oh, you're horse girl. I love it.
Is that about a horse?
This guy comes up and he's like, that book is girly.
Oh.
You need to be reading other books. And gave me War of the Worlds.
Hey, you care too much about animals. Here's a book about colonialism and death. You're a man.
Black Beauty's about a horse, right? Like the
Yes.
Mustang or something. Yeah.
A horse in London. And this is about, there's some horses in London in this book.
Yeah.
They're all dead.
They don't start dead.
I wish all men would be horse girls.
Even at the time in my southern, not exactly woke, mid 90s mind, I was still like, what do you mean it's a girly book? I don't, what?
But I'm not a girl and I'm reading it. And how is this possible?
It's a pretty good book. I enjoyed it.
It's just about a horse.
I remember I stayed up late to finish it so I could be bringing War of the Worlds to school the next day. I'm not proud of that.
So H.G. Wells, I find his sci-fi really interesting because it's like not very science-y, but it uses science themes to focus on how science and technology or a new novel tech idea affects like the larger society at whole or the psyche of like an individual. So I thought like his books are kind of interesting for that. And this book is no exception. So this book was written at like the height of the British Empire. So like he wanted to do a critique and have Britons who are reading this book start to empathize with what the British Empire is doing overseas and how it's affecting the lives of millions of people around the world. The British Empire at this point in history covered about 24% of the Earth's land area. They owned it. They ruled over 500 million people. That was 23% of the world's population. At that time, they were embroiled in political scandals in Hong Kong and the Sudan. So there was all sorts of like colonialism and imperialism going on. This book was trying to go like, look, these are humans. We might be a superpower with weapons. What if we put you in the situation where someone who has superior firepower comes in? And of course, instead of going to like, oh, America's invading UK, which it would be like more of a political statement, this is like a thought exercise of like Martians coming to town. And they're not human. They're not, they present themselves differently.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's interesting that when the Martians show up too, it's like very confusing. Like they don't seem like a big threat. No one takes them seriously. I do need to call out how I consumed this book. I found a resource called LibriVox, which is like volunteers record open domain books.
What?
So there was an Australian guy named Cliff Stone that read this out to me. He was a volunteer for LibriVox based out of Sydney, Australia. He tells you that at the end and the beginning of every chapter that he records. So I heard his name a lot.
These aren't long chapters.
But I'd never heard of this thing before. So LibriVox.
Oh, I love that.
So, Andrew, I have a question about this colonialism aspect because I'm thinking about the last book, where there was this whole thing about, she called it sentient versus meat.
Oh, you mean space opera?
Yeah, space opera.
Like Catherine Valente.
There's a part here of sort of the savages versus, us British full humans in some sense. And like, was that an explicit point he was trying to make?
He says it directly. I grabbed the quote. We men, the creatures who inhabit this earth, must be to them, they're referring to the Martians, at least as alien and lowly as the monkeys and lemurs are to us. Before we judge them too harshly, we must remember what ruthless and utter destruction our own species has wrought, not only upon animals such as the vanished bison and dodo, but upon its own, and I'm using heavy quotations here, it's not in the text, but inferior races. The Tasmanians, in spite of their human likeness, were entirely swept out of existence in a war of extermination waged by European immigrants in the space of 50 years. Are we such apostles of mercy as to complain if the Martians warred in the same spirit?
That's so good.
He was just like, here you go. I'm putting it on a platter for you.
There it is.
Just in case it isn't clear, let me slap you about with the point I'm trying to make.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We the British are dicks.
He was not a vegetarian, but a lot of his books push like a vegetarian ethic. And I think in some of his utopias, he thought that eventually we would all be vegetarians. And it speaks to that same thing of, he talks at one point about, oh, we're just edible ants now. He's also thinking about like, wow, what are we doing to other species where we pin them up and fatten them, before we're ready to eat them?
It's an ephemeral theme, right? Like we're going through that now in our time, which is like people that are cast as other, just so some folks in power can round them up. That's the playbook for people like this who want to grow their power and influence around the world. And it's not good. Universally, it's never been good.
I love that 1898, H.G. Wells could critique ice.
It's disappointing that humanity is still in a space where it can be critiqued accurately by someone that lived over 100 years ago.
I think and it comes back to why literature is so important, right? Why this form of storytelling, especially as AI is becoming the way people get their information instead of reading.
But also you have to slow down and focus on something to read. Like it's not just a stream. You have to sit down and engage with someone. Someone took time and energy to put these thoughts down, and you have to take time and energy to get that information out. Even if it's a 5-hour audiobook and you're listening to it, that's still 5 hours dedicated to one topic, which people just don't do a lot of anymore.
I'm reminded of Ursula Le Guin when we read The Dispossessed. We got a bunch of quotes from her, and one of the quotes about internet was the clumsiness and the carelessness of in the immediacy of posting something. There's so much clumsiness there that people are not intentional, and that's very, very dangerous. People just post, they ejaculate whatever their thoughts are right into the internet, and that's it. Now we get this extremism in every aspect of our society now, right?
We should clarify. In 1898, we learned that the term ejaculating meant something different. And so in this book, people ejaculate and you're like, wait, what? And it takes you fully out of the story for a moment. And then you realize they meant something totally different.
Did you pull the quote, Andrew?
Yeah, I have a few quotes in this. I had a words with Andrew log in this book because it's an old book with great old words. And the bottom one I had was ejaculate, which meant to say something quickly and suddenly. And typically in this book, the context is someone who's under duress. They're very hurried or they're very stressed out. They just can't stop talking. They're just nervously babbling.
I just love that at one stage they don't say, there's no text saying what this person said. It just says he ejaculated. That's the end of this. What did he say?
He comes down the stairs ejaculating and you're like, woo.
The POV of this book opens on a nameless narrator. So the whole story, it's given as a secondhand journal, a history. One of the things we mentioned was trying to have people empathize with the British Empire and some of the things that are going on. By removing a name here, I think H.G. Wells is trying to put you, the reader, in the POV of the human that's going through this. The narrator says that he's going to recount events about the unraveling of civilization. The book starts with things falling out of the sky. There's some observatories that are observing explosions on Mars.
They describe them as guns shooting on Mars, which I thought was interesting. Keep in mind, we have not invented rockets, and we won't for a long time. And so they thought that the way you got from Mars was to shoot out of a big cannon.
Why not? We have a thing where you spin something really fast and try and launch it into space. So I don't know. Why not? Why not this?
The G-forces would be high.
So the Wright brothers' flight, it's the first plane essentially with an astrofoil, I think. Did it have an astrofoil, Tommy?
What's an astrofoil?
That's a wing.
It had a wing. It had 2 of them.
That's the fanciest word I've ever heard for wing.
But it's like there's different types of astrofoil.
Okay.
Anyways, we'll get into it. But that happened in 1903.
Yeah.
Right. So this predates. So there's like the flying machines are a thing of sci-fi in this like world. We load someone into a cannon and we shoot them at a planet.
Okay, they talk about this. If you think about Mars and Earth going around the sun, we're going at different rates. And you can imagine us being on the opposite sides of the sun versus the same side. Rick, correct me if I'm wrong. I think it's called convergence when we're near each other.
I believe so, yeah.
And there's trickier math here because it's 2 moving targets. But, they basically waited until Earth and Mars are going to be near each other. And they shot this canister out of a cannon. And it traveled remarkably fast. I believe it still takes well over a year to get to Mars when they're at their closest point. This one arrives in weeks, whatever. And then it lands, just like thuds in as a meteor into the Earth.
Yeah, and it's a big metal cylinder.
The G-forces on a rocket are high. The G-forces on a cannon shot that would get you from Mars to the Earth, higher.
Yeah, and the Martians are not made of such rigid stuff that they would be able to survive this like crazy amount of G-force.
Nothing is.
But they do.
They did.
And they just like plump, like bunk, like meteor style, leave a big crater.
H.G. Wells describes it like, imagine someone swung a hammer into a bunch of like wet mud and the hammer stuck into it. And that's kind of how the cylinder hit the Earth.
It's a great description.
It's so good.
So this whole book takes place in the United Kingdom, in and around London. So Woking is where this lands. It's like a city outside of, just outside on the border of London. And there was somebody who was watching the sky late at nighttime named Ogilvy. And he goes and investigates here, and he hears noises in the cylinder. He climbs down into the pit, and I thought this was a really nice interpretation of like the human spirit. Ogilvy's like, they're in trouble. We need to help them get out. And he goes and gets like a deputation, which is one of the amazing words that I learned in this book. I would have called it a delegation, but like a roundup of local villagers. Oops, bad idea. So the narrator watches as this is all getting organized. The narrator's like peeking over the side of the crater, and the cylinder one half unscrews, falls out, and like these tentacled, like gross looking brown alien with the like tentacles.
It's cool that he describes them though. They have weird looking eyes too.
Eyes, yeah. Plops out of the cylinder like kind of like a pancake, like splat, and they're not really moving.
I pictured this as like a cockroach, but the whole body is like kind of the head, like brain matter, and it's got these little tentacles by its mouth.
Cockroach infers like an exoskeleton or like a chitin armor or something on the outside. This is like, they're gooey. They're like very malleable.
Oh, I pictured it as kind of hard with like a thing on its back that was its eardrum.
Like later on in the story, they get into their tripod things, and they're essentially like a brain in there. So they're kind of like this round, pudgy 4x4 brain with like tentacles and a mouth.
Well, he talks about this weird evolutionary theory that I think was around at the time, that as humans perfected machines, the only 2 parts we would need is our brain and our fingers.
That's exactly it. So essentially there's just big mushy brains and their tentacles are the fingers. That's all you need.
With a bunch of fingers. And you don't need anything else. It's just a waste of calories. And then you can use the fingers to control the thing.
I'd seen the Tom Cruise movie, so I pictured kind of the tripod situation thing right from the beginning, which is a different part of the book. But in the Tom Cruise movie, that's the first introduction you get to the aliens, is this like big brain with the really scary giant tripod tentacles.
Yeah, and those are in this book later on. All right, so let's move on. So Ogilvy is bringing his deputation to save the Martians. Oops, terrible idea. Sorry, Ogilvy, and your benevolence, but the Martians were tinkering in the pit. The narrator's like listening to this like tinkering going on. So the narrator was a little scared, ran back. As the deputation's approaching, the delegation of humans is approaching the pit, they come alight. They turn to fire. Like they're getting blasted by this wave of heat. H.G. Wells like does a great job of like vividly describing like this invisible line of fire that's like lighting everything on fire, the grass, the trees, and the main character doesn't get hit. Just kind of ducked down. The main character's got like the thickest plot armor on at all times. Like there's scenes where they're like, why didn't he die? He wasn't even like hiding. He was just standing there. He didn't get hit.
Because he's got a story to tell.
We should talk about the heat ray because this is a major thing. And H.G. Wells kind of nailed it. You are going to think like it's a laser. I think it's what's called a maser.
What is a maser?
It's like a laser, but microwave.
Oh, that's worse.
Just think about a laser uses light and focuses that. This is like another part of the electromagnetic band.
So I forget if I think that's like shorter wavelengths than visible light. And you can see different lasers with different colors at like a laser show, right? If you go even further, even shorter, higher energy, well, number one, you can cook chicken. And number two, if you can direct it into a beam, you can cook chicken a long ways away.
Or people.
But the cool thing is that was not invented until 1954.
Oh.
And lasers as we know them a few years later. So he really nailed it on a technology that we definitely would eventually have.
It's a cool weapon for aliens to have.
Yeah. And back to the colonialism angle, it's a weapon we just like had no conception of. And if you imagine, the conquistadors show up and like their stick goes boom and somebody drops dead, it's a similar level of what the hell is going on here.
Mm-hmm.
The narrator survives and he runs back to his house. And this is a time where like the news was slow, right? There's no social media. There's people just slinging newspapers, typically printed locally at that point, and nobody's taking it seriously. Everyone's like, well, what's going on? So the narrator has this first-hand account and is like, we got to get the fuck out of Woking. There's like this veil of red on the horizon and people are still going to the pit to see the Martians and whatever. I thought this was kind of like a dick move. So he rounds up his wife and his neighbor, I think, or his cousins. He goes to the Spotted Dog, which is the local pub, and he pays the pub owner for his dog cart and pony to borrow it. The pub owner's like, it's going to cost you double. And the guy's like, oh, this sucks. So he takes it. I immediately was like, what are you? You're fucking this guy.
Yeah.
Give me your only mode of conveyance. I'm out of here.
He's like, I promise to bring it back tomorrow.
By the time you will be promptly on fire.
Yeah. I'll bring it back tomorrow, dude.
I didn't pick up on that.
Yeah.
There's an aspect of people profiteering, right, off of the entire situation.
Oh.
And this guy might have been like, look, this guy might be overreacting. So let him. And I'll make some money and probably it's going to be okay. And here's the funny thing is usually people are overreacting.
The world doesn't usually end.
There's this like concept in finance of picking up pennies in front of a steamroller where like it'll work for a while. And I think he's like, yeah, I'll just like get paid extra to give him my wagon. He'll be back tomorrow. It's no big deal.
And that happens a lot. People profit off of the train. They profit off of food. Like there's a lot of people getting rich off of this crisis throughout, which is the same as colonialism.
Yeah. Including sometimes there's like locals that get quite rich along the way.
Okay, so that makes sense. But he essentially fucked this guy because he took his only mode of transportation.
We do find out this guy later is dead, so he absolutely does fuck him.
He did kind of fuck him over.
The best part is he actually does try to return the pony and dog cart. Like, what are you doing?
Oh.
He drops his wife off at Leatherhead, which is another like suburb. And then this guy's like, well, I got to bring the cart back. I said I would. And he goes back. And you're like, what the hell are you doing? On the way back, he's riding the horse and over the field, over him, a gigantic tripod monster. It's like a metallic machine. So the Martians have put together this giant machine and it's like killing things. It's like now this giant killing machine on the loose in the suburbs of London. Surprise, surprise, the pub owner who he took his only mode of transportation when he gets back to his house, dead. It's like his head's bent weirdly or something. Like the Martian picked it up and like bonked it or like something. It's not a heat ray. It's like the guy's like mangled or something like that. And then as he's going back, more cylinders are falling. One cylinder just like wiped out an entire town. There's one or two more that have now fallen. The news is disorganized. The soldier response is disorganized. He's kind of the only one that seems to know what's going on, and the Martians are basically attacking it.
And we know there's going to be 10 cylinders because when they were observing these explosions on Martian, they counted one every night for 10 nights, leaving out the fact that they could have shot more during the day, whatever. There's supposed to be 10.
That's too many.
It's too many.
It's also not that many.
We couldn't fight them, Tommy. We couldn't even fly a plane.
It's just Britain, though. And it's called War of the Worlds.
Okay. Yeah. How did you manage to land at the seat of empire? Amazing.
And I'm pretty sure in the Spielberg film, it's like all over the place. But in the book, it's just Britain.
I mean, in this book about colonialism, like it wouldn't hit the same if they landed in the colonies.
Yeah, exactly.
The narrator bumps into a military man. We're going to name this person the artilleryman, and they escape Woking together. While they're escaping, they kind of go through the throngs of people trying to get away. They come to like a ferry crossing where like people are just trying to get on these boats, and the Martians attack again. We don't see the artillerymen for a while. They get split up. The Martians are essentially like boiling human. The water's boiling down all across the river. The narrator jumps into the river, even though it's boiling hot because of all the rays. One of the Martians gets killed. So this is like there's a hidden gun battery as they're getting attacked over the like they're crossing the river. Some smart soldier has decided to like, what if they didn't see us? And while the Martians over top of them with their tripod machine, they open the battery and direct hit onto the Martian. The Martian falls and its heat ray machine falls into the river and the river starts boiling. We get a glimpse of the Martian seems to like melt in the water. I thought maybe that was because of the boiling, but and the narrator jumps in to save himself because like everyone else is burning. So that's kind of the end of this POV. But I thought that was like a interesting. I wasn't expecting them to actually take down a Martian so early in the book.
It was good. So the defense strategy, very ad hoc. But yeah, they were hiding. They call them batteries, basically like 6 cannons in a group. Hide them like in the forest or something so that the Martians don't see it. And you basically get one shot before you're vaporized. One of those batteries got lucky, basically, and took out one of the Martians.
Okay, quick pause before we keep chatting through this book. This episode is brought to you by Adobe Acrobat, and we love Adobe Acrobat. Acrobat has this really cool feature called PDF Spaces, which I love to use to organize our notes and files for this podcast. And I use it at my day job to collaborate with my team. PDF Spaces lets you upload PDFs, links, and docs, and turns those static files into a dynamic workspace for uncovering insights, brainstorming ideas, and surfacing recommendations. Your team can collaborate in a central workspace with a personal AI assistant where everyone can share files, comments, and notes. Busy managers can use the audio summary function to get updates quickly. And you can use the AI assistant to ask questions about your work and highlight what matters. It's less, where did I put that? And more, everything's here. If you want to try it, head to adobe.com/acrobat and check out PDF Spaces. Thank you for sponsoring creatives and readers, Adobe Acrobat. All right, back to the book.
Is War of the Worlds the first, like, we have to fight the aliens sci-fi?
It's definitely one of the earlier ones, but I don't know. I can't say for a fact that it's like the first one ever.
But I think like if we use our kind of Frankenstein logic of like what has historically influenced culture, we would think of this. Like this is our like frame of reference with like a first alien invasion piece of media. And it's unfortunately the themes in this book have held up incredibly well. It's also like a romp. Like it's a good read, except for the, rampant generalized misogyny throughout.
Yes.
And it definitely does not pass a Bechdel test.
There is a woman insofar as somebody needed saving.
Yes.
Yeah, no. But I also, nobody has names in this book.
That was a thing back. There was like a period when you wrote that way, and it drives me nuts.
I kind of love it because I think it's one of the reasons why this story is so adaptable. Even when I was reading it, having the context of the Tom Cruise Spielberg film and having I read this and listened to the radio thing when I was a child. So it might be that long too, Tommy. But I wasn't picturing Tom Cruise. I was the protagonist because of how the story is narrated.
Interesting.
And because it's not like my wife Anne, it's my wife. It's not the military guy Andrew. It's the military it could be anyone. And so it allows the reader a choose your own adventure narrative of who are the characters that you're collecting from your own life that would be in the story with you. I loved how present I was in the narration.
I really like this part of the novel because they take the Martian out, but then the reaction of the other Martians is like, what? Huh? You just the Martians turn, the other tripods turn and dumbfounded and just look at the humans and they're like imagine an ant just smoking a human being. You're just walking down the street and just a missile comes out of the ant and takes out George, your best friend. And the Martians are like, what the fuck? They had no conception that humans had intelligent thought and could be organized in such a way. And then all of a sudden they start using black smoke. So they literally think of us as bugs. So they start developing this technology of this chemical warfare, what they call this black smoke that's now lacing the countryside to exterminate the humans.
This is another one that deserves some context because again, the timing is good. Yeah. So black smoke, it's chemical warfare, right? He's gassing us. And if we think a gas, chemical warfare, most people think of World War I. So I think in like 1917 is when this was first done with chlorine gas. We knew about poison gas as a potential thing in warfare already. And in fact, in 1854, during the Crimean War, which was one of these wars between civilization and not civilization, the British considered whether they should use poisonous gas. And the generals actually said, no, this is sort of not sporting. It's not like the way war is won.
Nothing they did was sporting. Jesus fuck.
You can shoot.
Bro.
Yeah, you can murder people. You want to murder. It's hard. You can maim and kill, but you can't do it that way.
Oh, but like agreed, but also.
I understand the reason. It is a bad reason, but I do understand the reason.
But in 1898, this book is published. In 1899, The Hague bans the use of poisonous gas in warfare.
Seems like we really didn't abide by that shit.
Well, with a few exceptions, we have, but we have not.
Yeah, no.
The other crazy analog here. So in World War I, when I think the Germans did it first, but everybody did it. The gas they used was chlorine gas. Similar to this book, it's heavier than air, and so it flows along the ground. Critically, trench warfare, it flows into the trenches.
Oh.
Chemical warfare. No, thank you.
So H.G. Wells also, like, we knew about it, but it wasn't necessarily done yet. So this is also just like a very sci-fi writer thing of like kind of anticipating the future.
Right, seeing where the technology was going and saying this future or this like more advanced race would be using this already because we're studying it now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And within 100 years, we had offensively used a laser, a heat ray, and we had offensively used poison gas.
We became the Martians that we were warned about, Tommy.
We were always the Martians, Rick. Hey, friends, I want to tell you about a different podcast that we like. It's called The Secret Life of Books. It covers books you wish you read. My favorite episode is The Canterbury Tales, which I super did not read. There's a new episode every Tuesday, and you can read along with them by joining their book club. Take a listen. We think you'll like it.
Is Wuthering Heights really a love story?
Should you be afraid of Virginia Woolf?
And most importantly, is Mr. Darcy handsome enough to tempt you?
This is The Secret Life of Books.
I'm Sophie G., academic and writer.
And I'm John T. Claypole, broadcaster and producer.
In this podcast, we tell the story behind the story of the literary classics everybody wants to read, feels they should read, or has already read and loved.
We reveal the secret histories, hidden players, and big ideas behind the great books.
We show how they came into being, why they matter, and how they changed the world.
The deeper we go, the weirder the questions. Is George Orwell's 1984 on some level a comedy? Is Dracula the Freddie Mercury of horror? And why do so many literary honeymoons go wrong?
Whether you're a committed book nerd or just curious about the history of ideas, The Secret Life of Books is the podcast for you.
The narrative ends, this part of the story ends with like the dude's kind of like just pulled his ass out of the boiling creek. He's got bad burns all over his body,
which we will never speak of again.
Yeah, that shit does not come up. We do not resolve the burns.
That shit does not come up. It should be the name of this book because there's a lot of plot strands that just like are mentioned and never come back again. I don't know. He ran out of time. I got to publish this book.
Keep it tight. Keep it tight.
Yeah. Something I like about just the throwaway, like, what the hell? Abruptly, we change into the POV of what I'm calling Dr. Pugilist. So, like, it's the narrator's brother, who's also unnamed, who's a doctor, who lives in downtown London. And I think the point of jumping to this brother's perspective is to get, like, a sense of, like, the madness that it is to escape London, like, the hysteria that's going on. Okay, so that's I think why. But it is an abrupt kind of, I think, story beat.
I kind of liked it. You get this, I mean, this feels modern to me of you've got first person narrative, uncovers like the early narrative arc. And now that person is like in a spot of bother, what's going to happen to him? But wait, and we jump over to this other sort of enlarged perspective where we see what's happening to all of London, the panic, the, mass hysteria and flight. And you start seeing more instances of hoarding food and profiteering. And like, I'm always interested in sort of like, not just what's the science, but like what will society do? And this is where you get it.
Yeah, they're trying to sell newspapers at a premium to get people information, which is like fake newspapers that have no inside pages, like things like that.
Yeah, there's at one point the paper's empty and they're still selling it.
Literally fake news.
Literally empty.
I was going to say, this is no doubt Tommy's favorite part of the book because there's a bicycle involved. Tommy is an avid cyclist.
Was an avid cyclist. I don't really cycle anymore.
He just runs now. He uses his feet.
And I think about this sometimes. If shit hit the fan in Seattle, y'all, I can just like get to the mountains. I've run there before.
Is that where you want to be?
Yeah.
Perfect. Can I come?
The Black Smoke King can't get you up there.
Can't get you up on the top.
Good thing Toronto has no mountains.
Yeah, you guys are screwed. It'll all go down to the ravines.
Shit won't hit the fan here. It's a frozen wasteland. It's okay.
The Martians are not landing in Winnipeg. Let's be real.
No, we're fine.
Leave Canada alone.
Don't invade a winter, people.
Yeah, Rick, I want to come to Winnipeg if anything happens.
Come hang out. It's flat and boring.
Sarah and I would be dead because there's a saying in Toronto, it takes an hour in Toronto to drive to Toronto. So we're not getting out.
Yeah, you're screwed. I mean, London's like that. And it, like the streets are completely packed as soon as people get wind that they're coming. And I did enjoy the trickle of information here, right? They're coming. They've got some sort of heat ray thing that vaporizes people. There's a gas situation that kills you on the spot. Every now and then you'll hit reports of them appearing on the horizon as this taller than a building thing. Effectively, the only human-built thing at the time was church steeples that were even approximately this.
So bigger than God.
Right? So like steeple-sized things showing up.
Dr. Pugilist says
It's a wild.
he reads the news and he says it's really hard to imagine boilers on stilts 100 feet high. Anyway, so he robs a bike store and with a flat tire bike he pedals his ass out of London.
Because immediately after, like, papers say there's Martians, we're robbing bike stores. Like, society is broken down.
He gets out to the countryside and he comes upon a horse-drawn carriage with two ladies who are being assaulted by 2 or 3 dudes. They're trying to it's not described what they're trying to do. Are they trying to take the house? Are they being? It's not described. It's just like they're being attacked. I guess maybe to try and take their carriage because he's got dudes are like desperate. I don't know. So he rushes to help them. This is why I call him Dr. Pugilist because he makes sense that he has like boxing. He has a boxing background, but he was also a doctor in the previous paragraphs. I'm like, what doctors is going bare knuckle boxing?
The hero kind, Andrew. The kind that's saving random women.
Yeah, Dr. Pugilist.
These hands can heal, but they can also destroy. So he saves them. There's one of the ladies is named Mrs. Elphinstone. She has a pistol under the sea, so she draws it and starts firing wildly at these like thieves. So together they kind of like run these thieves off. Together they decide to let's pair up, let's herd together and try and get out of London. They take the horse-drawn carriage. I couldn't wrap my head around this part of the book because the direction they were going in, everyone else was going the other way. As they made their way out of London, the crowds were getting thicker. They were like covered in black stuff. They looked more disheveled. The crowds were getting, yet the dude persisted in taking this way.
He kept calling the women his charges and saying that he had to convince his charges of the direction. And I'm like, yeah, you would because you're being an idiot. Like you're going the wrong way. Very clearly going the wrong way, sir.
I thought there were people going in every direction.
Maybe, but he was very much infantilizing these women the entire time.
Well, I think she gives him the gun, too. She's like, this is better off with you. Like, okay, well.
What the fuck? I'd be like, hey, random man, I'm keeping my pistol. Jesus Christ.
For sure.
I was confused by that.
A man wrote a woman. I solved the confusion.
Yeah, like conceptually, I was like, why would she just give up her gun? Like
because he was written by a man.
I was conceptualizing her as this badass gunslinger, and then all of a sudden it turned out to just be like, oh, she was just hysterically firing. Like a little disappointing.
No, we are often, especially men of this era, but generally we're conquests, we're silly, we're children, and we are always defaulting. And Reese Witherspoon has this incredible like Oscar speech or something where she says in like all of the writing of the scripts that she looked at, women would always turn to men and go, what are we going to do? And she's like, do you know any fucking woman in a crisis where you would turn to a man and say, what are we going to do? Everyone's turning to you and saying, what are we going to do? Like, it doesn't make sense, but that's how men write women. So we would give up our pistol if a dude wrote us.
So part of the message here is this like incredulity. You mentioned the sort of like boilers on stilts, but there's also this confident pronouncement early in the book that, okay, the Martians made a big pit when they landed and the gravity is too strong. They can never get out of it.
They're like, oh, those poor dudes, they can't get out.
So gravity is about 3 times stronger on Earth than it is on Mars. This was actually known then. So there is this incredulity of like, oh, these things have to be helpless. What do you mean they're riding around in stilts and vaporizing people? And it was that slow boil of realization. But I think, Andrew, that's why people were running in every direction. There's so little information. Your first thought is, I got to get out of the city. I got to get out of Toronto. Something bad's happening. You go out to the suburbs. It's like, no, that's where the bad thing is happening. Like, which direction do you go now?
I like that he talks about this now. Like, since there's more oxygen here, they're just more powerful because of the oxygen. I'm like, okay, well,
yeah.
sure.
Gravity's stronger, but they've got more oxygen, so they'll be fine.
That's exactly it. Yeah.
So if you like strap an oxygen tank to a human, we're Superman.
Exactly. It's the yellow sun.
No, we're just in like a Vegas casino, spending more, staying awake.
It's the Vegas casino of planets.
Earth, the Vegas casino of the Martians.
It really is the Vegas casino of planets, especially now.
Is somebody trying to profit off of you at all times?
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, fuck. Oh, God, we're the Vegas casino of planets.
Anyway, they flee to the coast. They're going to sail to France. And the ship's captain, he's trying to fill as many people on this boat as possible, even though it's like over capacity. So he's taking all of this money, trying to load as many humans in. While he's doing that, the Martians land and approach the coast. So he starts to disembark, but it's a little too late. The Martians going to get to them if nothing happens. The Martians don't seem to know what water is. They're along the coast. They walk into the water. They seem a little bit like, what's this? And while they're doing that, there's like an ironclad. So at this point, there was like wooden ships, but America pioneered what they call the ironclad. So they strapped heavy iron onto things, and typically they had one cannon in the middle that turned like 360 degrees. There's a ship called the Thunder Child in the sea that comes to the rescue of the ferries. The Thunder Child does a pretty good job. Because the Martians use machines themselves, they look at the ironclad and they're like, what's that? Like, there seems to be like a moment where they're trying to figure out like, oh, is this an intelligent life? It's kind of like us. And then the ironclad blows 2 of them up. So it takes 2 of the Martians out. They fall in the water. The ironclad gets killed by the third one. And then the Martian flying machine shows up and starts blasting gas along the coast. And then the chapter ends. And that's like the end of this. Like, it never comes back again. I was like, oh, it's going to be flying machines now. Because that's like a cool, nope, never mentioned again. And the next chapter, we were back to the POV of the narrator, the original one.
And that's it for the brother.
That's it for the brother.
Came, gave us a sense of the chaos and left. I will say we very much had metal ships, like fully metal, not even ironclad, fully metal ships by then.
So we go back to the brother's narrative. He's now holed up in a house with somebody who we're calling the curate. The curate, I looked it up, it's like a clergyman priest. They found each other in the desolation of this Martian landscape that the narrator finds himself trapped behind enemy lines. This is a line from how he describes he hates the curate. I grew very weary and irritable with the curate's perpetual ejaculations.
Yeah, me too.
Like, wow. I wouldn't want to be around someone who's just ejaculating all the time. You don't really know them.
You don't really know them.
Oh, we forget. So they're trapped because of, I think, the biggest plot armor maybe in Pagenerd lore. The cylinder lands basically on the house that they're in and obliterates that and creates a huge hole, but they just like happen to be, right on the edge of the hole, like literally on the edge of the crater, but not killed. Magically don't die, like a bullseye near miss that leaves them with a window into the pit for the new, whatever this is, the 6th or 7th cylinder, where they can see it. He's always there to observe, man, but they don't die. So he's got plenty of food, one crazy person, and a direct window into the Martians. Very handy.
I think that's some brandy too.
Oh yeah, and some brandy and some champagne maybe.
They got ham, they have champagne, they have stuff like that. So they're trapped in this kitchen with a full pantry, and they're surviving. And the curate's mental health is deteriorating. They're bickering over who gets to watch the window because they're really bored. They're like slap fighting each other, like, no, it's my turn, it's your turn. There's observations about the aliens. So they're very handy with taking things like they pour clay into this like what they call the handling machine, and that turns into like refined metal, so like aluminum. So they're good at like fabricating stuff out of nothing. That's how they built these fighting machines in this process that humans have no conception of. It's also revealed that like humans are being brought in and then they're being consumed. The Martians don't eat. That's what they said. They don't eat, they don't sleep, they don't rest. All they have to do is suck or drink human blood from every time to time. They bring hosts in. You don't see it. It's not very graphic. It's like behind a hill, but you can tell the Martians are like ravenously consuming it. I love this description of the Martians because they're like this is where we hear that the 4x4 with the big eyes and the cockroachy mouth, and then the hands that Tom mentioned earlier. But there's a detail that I couldn't stop laughing. They have an ear for a butt, like a hearing device on the backside of their heads.
Big.
They're just giant heads.
Yeah.
A big ear butt.
I think I missed that one. That's lovely.
Yeah, it has an ear butt. You know why? The atmosphere on Mars is really thin.
Go on.
And sound is just stuff vibrating the atmosphere. So you're going to need a bigger ear butt. Yeah, you need a bigger ear if the air is thinner. And so they have a big ear. It must have been
but why is it on their butt?
On Earth.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why they didn't want to come out of the pit too. They're like, this is so fucking loud. It's
This place is
overstimulating
loud.
planet.
This is loud.
Which is how you would feel if you landed into the casino, the Vegas casino of planets. It would be very overstimulating.
So I imagine them consuming the blood as like they take the blood, nutritious full blood out of a human or an animal. They put it in their bodies and put like the old shitty blood in the other person. Is that how you got it, or did they eat it?
No, I think they just drain you.
Okay.
I like the idea of the old blood going in someone.
This isn't like a kidney machine. No. This is a blood boy. They just take it.
But do they shit out the old blood? Like what happens?
I think they probably
How do
shit it out.
They shit out the old blood.
Well, all the vines and stuff are blood red, right? So maybe it's like
okay,
fueling-
why? When you look at Mars, what color is it?
Fair.
It has to be red, right?
Yeah.
But this is where we learn like why they're here.
Yeah, they don't take nutrition directly from the environment. They take it from things that have taken the nutrition out of the environment, directly from their blood.
So we got the curate, we got the narrator holed up. There's this red vine growing on
Everything really fast growing.
Makes the terrain alien. It doesn't look like Earth, kind of. It looks like a red terrain with like pockets of green trees maybe coming off. As they're holed up, the curate's kind of losing. He starts to like binge eat. So the narrator's like, no, we got to like ration this. And then the curate is eating the food, getting drunk, taking the wine, maybe not the worst plan because if you're going to go. But then he starts like yelling. They start to yell. The narrator tries to divvy up the food into rations. The curate doesn't like that, starts to get hysterical, which draws the Martians to their hiding spot. The narrator, in like trying to silence him, bashes his head in with a nearby object. I think it's like a fire poker or something like that. Martian comes in, sees the dead body, is confused, feels around for the narrator. The narrator hides in a coal shed, and then the Martians eventually leave. They just like are done with the pit eventually. They leave, which leaves the narrator alone in this Martian landscape. I thought this was like a cool part of the book. He's just like walking around, watching the desolation, how different London or just outside of London looks. It's all red with this red vine. We get the first inclination of a foreshadow, which is like some of the red vine doesn't look so healthy. Looks like it's wilting. It's not looking good. We meet the artilleryman again. Sarah, you want to talk about the artilleryman?
Yep, I do. So at first, it's kind of an interesting exchange because our narrator is not doing well mental health wise, obviously, kind of been trapped in this pit.
And then kill the dude, yeah.
He's got some PTSD, which he does describe at the end of the book as what we would commonly now know as PTSD, which was actually interesting because I don't think that was even a conception of a diagnosis back then, but he really accurately describes PTSD. So we've got this kind of mentally unwell narrator who's having a real bad time of this, and he meets up with this artilleryman who is coming across incredibly like confident and has this plan for what he thinks they should do. And like basically it's like, we should live in the sewers as rats. And then he's kind of doing the like cult leader at the end of the world energy.
But bad.
His plan starts to kind of fall apart in the eyes of the narrator pretty quickly. He's like, let's dig here. And he's like, okay, but if we dug like 6 feet that way, it would be it would make way more sense. But he just kind of follows the artilleryman for a while because he just seems like he knows what's going on, which is just an interesting, I think, like literary critique on human nature. And like, if someone projects confidence and projects like they know what's going on, then people will follow them. Even very, like, this is a philosophy professor, even like academic smart people who are like seeing the holes in the plan. He follows this guy. And then we I love this. We see that this dude is actually quite lazy.
Yeah.
So he's like, we're going to build this civilization under the ground, but also we should probably take a break and have a cigar. We should take a break and have a glass of champagne. We should just chill for it. We're still mammals. We should just chill. And you get the idea that this dude has no work ethic at all. He's just like blindly confident. And I'm like, oh, I know so many of that guy.
He also, okay, so this artilleryman, remember we mentioned that basically what would happen is they would get one shot and they would get obliterated. So I don't think his battery even got off a shot. The rest of them were basically vaporized very early on. And he's been wandering around with this trauma ever since, like hiding underground.
Yeah. He fell into a ditch. Like he got knocked into a ditch and that's how he survived.
He's crazy. That's the way to read this guy. He has lost it.
Yeah.
And it shows
and
up
our narrator is like bought in for a hot minute there, though. He's like, I'm down for the underground rat cult. Let's do it.
But by then we've learned like all of the bits, right? We've learned that, okay, why are the Martians here? They're here not to eradicate us, but to domesticate us. And he's got this idea of even like we can live in the sewers and sort of, survive despite this. And he's like, well, they won't necessarily want to wipe us out because as long as we're not a problem, we're just like, the equivalent of like wild horses. And, and in fact, he talks about maybe at one point they'll take some of us as their pets. And this is where I got not as much colonialism vibes, but vegetarian vibes of like, there's this creature that has come along with technology and power that is just like incomprehensible. And what they're going to do is domesticate you, fatten you up and eat you. And he's like, and many people will be like, this is fine. I get fed, I just like live my happy little life. And then eventually I get drained of my blood. I think he's got this mindset of like, well, maybe animals are in a similar, like, well, obviously not in factory farms, but if, you're like, I live in the pasture, it's pretty good. And then I get eaten.
A lot of people say like, it's being in the military is highly submissive as a job.
Yes.
This is like a wildly, strangely submissive take on how to do this.
But part of his plan is also like, we're going to earn their trust as their pets and then figure out how the heat ray works. And then we can fight back.
Yeah, then then it becomes, it's clear that like his real plan is just, I'm going to commandeer a tripod. There isn't much more of a plan.
So the narrator realizes this artilleryman who wants to live in the sewers of London like the Ninja Turtles is not someone he wants to follow. He enjoys the champagne and cigars for a while, but then he takes off. I think he's kind of realized that Leatherhead got smote by the black smoke, so his wife's probably dead. He's going around this alien landscape that's all red with this weed, trying to navigate it. It's kind of cactus-like, so it's not easy to traverse. He gets to London, just going to confront the aliens. He knows he might die. Here's this what you called ululations. That's the word. I put that in my words with Andrew at the end. Ululations. So this Martians basically yell, "Ula, ula, ula." It's actually a Martian that's choking. It turns out after he kind of like goes through it, the aliens got Jeff Goldblum did Independence Day. They had a cold. They got some bacteria. So the Earth bacteria ended up just croaking. They went to dirty ass London dirty ass London circa the turn of the century. London. I'm sure you're very beautiful these days. So this is like a really good point though, because I think it's part of the narrative is like the humans didn't do shit to stop the Martians, right? Like the Martian invasion stopped, but the humans were just hapless bystanders. They did nothing. That's like a point of the narrative here. And then it ends with the narrator goes home, happy ending. His wife survives somehow. And that's the end of the book.
You're going to tell this book was made before we had any idea like how the human microbiome worked. Like he says, on Mars, there are no bacteria.
There's no bacteria.
You could not live with that. Like half of your cells are not your human cells inside of you.
Digestion is basically us outsourcing to bacteria in our gut. Also, where the hell do these multicellular organisms come from if there's no single-celled organisms?
That's absolutely like, who knows?
Who knows? But... and so, okay, the gene theory of disease existed. We did not have antibiotics. So we knew that you could get diseases from, what they would call germ, or we would call germ, bacteria, viruses, things like that. They didn't, I think, really know about viruses.
Viruses are generally much smaller than bacteria, so we couldn't see them yet until our microscopes got better.
So he's like right at the cutting edge in some sense of medicine by asserting that these bacteria could be causing the problem. Although we have obviously seen cases, think smallpox, of traveling to a new place and eradicating something there, right? People understood this idea of immunity, even if they didn't know how it worked.
War of the Worlds is a public domain story because it's old enough. And it's one of the
fun.
Yeah, so people can use the story for free and they can adapt it for free. I'd like to talk about a little bit about this because this is a good story that's like a good microcosm, good case study of like an adaptation of like a book like this. So obviously this book takes place in London. We went through the initial story, but there was like a very famous interpretation of this that's in 1938, Orson Welles' radio play. So it's probably actually more well known for the radio play. So in 1938, Orson Welles famously broadcast War of the Worlds. It was reimagined to be aliens are invading New Jersey. They wrote it like it was a live broadcast depicting the alien invasion as it was happening. And it didn't have commercials. So people who tuned in late, apparently, this is how the story goes, they thought for real New York and New Jersey were being invaded by aliens. So there was like a little bit of a hysteria. There's a couple things. One, the mass hysteria apparently is like overblown. Allegedly, what happened was there's a lot of like newspapers that were threatened by radio at the time. So they went, look how dangerous radio is. You don't want to put your ad dollars on radio.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, and I think that's true because it's very clear that Orson Welles, he's not trying to trick anyone.
Columbia Broadcasting System and its affiliated stations present Orson Welles and the Mercury Theater on the air in The War of the Worlds by H.G. Wells.
The music is awesome.
The music is good.
Oh, yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, the director of the Mercury Theater and star of these broadcasts, Orson Welles.
We know now that in the early years of the 20th century, this world was being watched closely by intelligences greater than man's, and yet as mortal as his own. We know now that as human beings busied themselves about their various concerns, they were scrutinized and studied.
That opening line, the way he does, is like, oh, this is good.
Yeah, almost as good as Cliff Stone of Sydney, Australia.
Shout out.
Who did the audiobook? Shout out.
And the noise of the impact was heard as far north as Elizabeth. And we'll have our commentator, Carl Phillips, give you a word picture of the scene as soon as he can reach there from Princeton. In the meantime, we take you to the Hotel Martinet in Brooklyn, where Bobby Millett and his orchestra are offering a program of dance music.
The reason why I think this is a really good adaptation is because, so there's no name of the narrator. Because the goal of H.G. Wells writing the book was to bring you in. You are living this account.
Ladies and gentlemen, my aunt. Ladies and gentlemen, here I am, back of a stone wall that adjoins Mr. Wilmer's garden. From here, I get a sweep of the whole scene. I'll give you every detail as long as I can talk and as long as I can see. More state police have arrived. They're drawing up a cordon in front of the pit.
I think Orson Welles uses like the radio play in a smart way to bring the listener in by using the news broadcasts. This is happening live as I'm reporting, so it's narrowing the psychic distance.
Tied to a pole. Flag of truce. If those creatures know what that means, what anything means. Wait a minute, something's happening. A humped shape is rising out of the pit. I can make out a small beam of light against a mirror. What's that? There's a jet of flame springing from the mirror, and it leaps right at the advancing men. It strikes them head on. Oh, Lord, they're turning into flames. Now the whole field's caught up by the woods, the barns, the gas tanks of the automobiles.
That's
spreading
screaming.
everywhere. Coming this way now, about 20 yards to my right.
Holy crap, that's terrifying.
Shit.
Ladies and gentlemen, due to circumstances beyond our control, we are unable to continue the broadcast from Grover's Mill.
Yeah, the guy got murked.
Difficulty with our field transmission. However, we will return to that point at the earliest opportunity. In the meantime, we have a late bulletin from San Diego, California.
Yo, I would have freaked out. If you missed the intro, it's the radio. You turn it on late?
Yeah.
Whoa.
So that's what the theory is that you missed the starting, so the mass hysteria. And it's very well done. Oh my God. You might you might think that's a broadcast. Now, of course, you're like, well, the aliens exist. So, but I really liked it. It's like so super visceral. I highly recommend, Googling it and listening to it. It's free. It's public domain. I think this is like why I wanted to talk about this is a little bit is because I feel like adaptations are really hard. So like we're the page nerds. We love books. Adaptations are really hard for book lovers because how close, if you're making an adaptation, do you stick to the book? I think if Orson Welles kept it just as a straight retelling, it would not have been as impactful. And I don't think it wouldn't have closed the psychic distance in the way that H.G. Wells artistically tried to do with his initial book. Orson Welles, by nature, deviating, actually somehow kept closer to the spiritual connection of like the original. There's a concept in like when you're writing a book called death of the author. It's a kind of a concept from an essay by French critic Roland Barthes, maybe, and it's from the 1960s. It states basically like once a writer creates and publishes a work, it's no longer theirs. So you might have an intention as an artist or an author to write a book, and you have like all of these kind of ambitions about how people will take it. But once you release it, it's actually the public's. It's the listening audience. It's going to take on a life of its own, and you don't want to fight that. You actually want people to be able to interpret it based on their own experiences. We get this all the time with the books that we've read over the season, right? Tommy imagines Murderbot as Ziggy Stardust. I imagine Ryland Grace as Paul Giamatti. That's us going into our baggage and pulling out the concepts of like things that we've established in our own history. And you have to be okay with that happening. So it's famously called death of the author. The birth of the reader must be at the cost of the death of the author. So when you see these adaptations and you're like, why is it different? Why is it different from that book that I loved? It's because like when somebody goes to interpret a book that you love, they have to bring themselves to it. They have to bring the media landscape to it.
I was also reading a bit about like when the adaptation happens and what's happening culturally in that moment imprints itself on that adaptation. So you see the Steven Spielberg film for War of the Worlds come out in 2005, relatively shortly after 9/11 and into the Iraq War, the Iraq-Afghanistan War. And you can see more kind of themes of like defense and heroism. And like, it's less of that anti-colonial message that we get from the book. You see that quite a bit less in the adaptation in 2005 because of like the cultural context of when that art was produced. And I like to think of like these adaptations as like mirrors, like when they are reproduced, like what is it telling us about ourselves in that moment? And like Frankenstein's another one. Like all of the different adaptations have something to say about what's happening in that culture and that moment, and why you are taking specific things from the book that may not be intended by the author. But I love the death of the author.
It kind of mirrors how human memory works as well. Like every time you remember something, you're pulling it up and editing that memory. So you can make changes to your own memory as you recall things. And it's kind of the same way with the adaptations where like this book was written in one context. Every time you make a new version of it, you bring whatever the world has going on at that time into it.
I would argue too, like Spielberg's like the blockbuster director. How do you get a blockbuster? You make the story really human. It's not about like London reacting to the panic of The Martian. It's about like this dad, very ground level, trying to get back to his son and family, right? That's people connect to that in the visual media and screen. I thought it was a pretty good interpretation, but you can't just, again, you have to like bring the spin to it.
Yeah, it was dark too. Like that for a blockbuster, that is like a dark film.
Yeah.
Especially all the blood stuff. Like, yeah.
Yeah, I could see that.
It's a vibe.
Not so good interpretation is the 2025. So last year there was a release of War of the Worlds. It was on Amazon, I think.
Somehow missed this completely.
The interesting idea there was like, can you bring modern technology such as like Zoom meetings and surveillance cameras? So it's Mr. Ice Cube, who I still listen to his albums today. I'm listening to Man Down.
Mr. Come on.
Oh, we love you, Mr. Cube.
I still listen to new Ice Cube music to this day. So I gotta call him Mr. Cube. Yeah. Everything's Corrupt. Such a great album. Anyway, but it was kind of interesting idea. They were bringing like the modern spin. I think they were trying to, but then like tech has eaten media to the point where like it's so rotten. So like the idea of like someone who's like in the modern surveillance state with like Zoom and stuff like that, it was told through camera feeds. But the climax of the movie, so instead of it being like bacteria or a virus, it's it's digital. These aliens are digital. And in order to launch a virus into them, the device was somebody had to make an Amazon delivery to save the day.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Damn it. Gross.
But like, isn't that a perfect cultural representation of our current moment?
Maybe.
Like going back to like, it's a mirror. Like the mirror is like, you're shit. This is shit. And it's like, kind of.
We can do better than
surveillance
that, though.
capitalism is gross.
Good Lord.
This is gross.
Who is that for?
Amazon. They love it at the end where you have to do the shopping together to go. That's great for them.
Yeah, but like, who watches this?
Yeah, that I don't have an answer to. Digital aliens is a wild idea. Like the aliens, why would they need to come to our planet to live inside of our hard drives?
Clippy. It's Clippy from Space Opera.
Space. Yeah. It's the 3-2-1.
Yeah.
They don't need to be here.
3-2-1.
Well, we have a lot of sand. Maybe they need to make more chips.
It's about rare earth materials and sand. And that's it. So those are the kind of the three interpretations of the movie I wanted to talk on, because this is like such an interesting story that it can be updated and massaged. Because I think it is kind of like the template of like the alien invasion storyline, which has been done to death.
I view it as the kind of sci-fi that shows up in the sci-fi section.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense. Like Frankenstein, you don't go to the sci-fi section to buy that. But I think that maybe War of the Worlds, probably yes. Certainly like The Time Machine and his others, like yes. They're probably the oldest book that would be in the sci-fi fiction.
So before we sign off, part of reading old-timey books that I love is going through old, amazing words that I have no idea what the fuck they meant. So for those of you who have, we read Frankenstein. That was full of $1,000, $100 words. Rick notoriously does not stop and check the words. He tries to get it from context. I have to stop. I have to stop. So I'm going to read some of my favorite words with Andrews. So I'm going to read some of my favorite words.
It's word time with Andrew.
Here we go. So gloaming. It's Scottish for twilight/dusk. Scottish term.
Ooh,
I
that's
love this
nice.
term so much. So I wrote a sci-fi book that's currently being edited. I started writing a second one, and I use the word gloaming sea. Like that's like the term. I love that word so much. Anyway, ululation, a loud, long, high-pitched vocal sound with a trilling quality.
I
That's a
can
good
still
one.
hear Cliff
Excellent.
Stone making that noise in my head. Oola, oola, oola. He made it sound like a bird call. It was great.
Cliff, we love you.
This is one I thought I knew. Noisome. I thought that meant like it's noisy. It's not. It's an adjective describing something, particularly a smell, that is extremely foul, disgusting, or sickening.
Oh, cool.
Doggerel, a form of poetry characterized by bad, irregular, or simplistic writing. So if you've ever been really tired and you're just singing a song for no reason and there's no words, that's kind of like a doggerel. You're like drunk tired.
Like all of early parenthood. Literally all of early parenthood.
Andrew's living that life
It's just
right
that.
now.
I was not prepared to imagine how many nonsense songs I would make up just to calm my child down in the witching hour.
Oh, it's incredible.
I always tell like my friends who are pregnant for the first time, like try to remember the first line of all your favorite songs, because you'll just repeat choruses over and over and slowly unravel and go insane overnight. So if you can at least remember the first opening line of your favorite song, then you can like get into the actual whole song.
That's great advice. Yeah. I wish I would have had that advice when I had my child.
Lastly, the last word I want to just touch on, I think it's really important, is ejaculate, which means to say something quickly or suddenly. Which, if you read this book, it's going to hit you hard and fast a lot. So be prepared for that.
Yeah, his wife's in his nightgown. He's ejaculating.
Pagenerd is Rick Vieweg, Sarah Stockdale, Tommy Guy, and me, Andrew Corway. Next episode, we're reading Yesteryear by Caro Claire Burke. And you can now support us on Patreon. We love making the show, and you can help us continue making it at patreon.com/pagenerd. Happy reading.
This is Orson Welles, ladies and gentlemen. Out of character, to assure you that the War of the Worlds has no further significance than as the holiday offering it was intended to be. The Mercury Theater's own radio version of dressing up in a sheet and jumping out of a bush and saying boo. We annihilated the world before your very ears and utterly destroyed the CBS. You will be relieved, I hope, to learn that we didn't mean it and that both institutions are still open for business. So goodbye, everybody, and remember, please, for the next day or so, the terrible lesson you learned tonight. That grinning, glowing, globular invader of your living room is an inhabitant of the pumpkin patch, and if your doorbell rings and nobody's there, that was no Martian, it's Halloween.